Let's get ready for some multiplication of our rational expressions. This is going to take the concept of simplifying our rational expressions to the next level. So what we need to do is, again, factor all the numerators, the tops, and all the denominators, the bottoms. So if I'm looking at my first rational expression or first fraction, I have 2x minus 3. 2 and 3 have nothing in common, and there's no x on the 3. So no GCF, no being able to factor 2x minus 3 in the first numerator. 5x is one term. That doesn't get me anywhere, so I'm going to leave it alone. But if you look at my second fraction, I have 5x plus 5. There's a GCF here of 5, because they're both divisible by 5. And if I factor out that GCF of 5, I have 5 times x plus 1. So far, I said I couldn't do anything with my first fraction. My second fraction, I said I could rewrite the second numerator by factoring out the GCF. I'm not going to worry about trying to factor the parenthesis any further because it has an x to the first and there are no GCFs hiding. But let's look at that 2x squared minus x minus 3. I'm going to use the bottoms up method where we identify our coefficients. So a is 2, b is negative 1, which is in front of the x, and c is negative 3. We're looking for a product of a times c, so 2 times negative 3, which gets us to negative 6, and a sum of b, which is our middle term, of negative 1. We need two numbers that multiply to be negative 6 and add to be negative 1. We can start with the terms that they first gave us, which happens to be the terms we need, because negative 3 times 2 gets us negative 6. Negative 3 plus 2 gets us negative 1. So we have our magic numbers. We can work on our factors. We're going to have x minus 3, because the 3 is negative, and x plus 2, because the 2 is positive. We need to divide by a in both of our factors, and then simplify. When we do 3 over 2 in our calculator, convert back to a fraction, we get 3 over 2. When we take 2 divided by 2, we get a whole number of 1, so we're going to leave it as 1. Last step, bottoms up. Whenever you have a fraction remaining in your factor, the denominator comes up, bottom comes up, which means that our final denominator in our problem factors to 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. And now we can start simplifying. Remember when you're multiplying fractions, so side note, if you had 3/4 times 2/8, you would multiply straight across. 3 times 2 gets us 6. 4 times 8 is 32. And then you would reduce. They also taught you that you could reduce the 2 and the 4. That's what we're going to do here. Notice that the x plus 1 shows up in top and bottom in the same fraction. The 2x minus 3 shows up in the top of the first fraction and the bottom of the second. And again, we can get rid of the 2x minus 3 because it's a group. It's showing up in both top and bottom. We take a moment to see where we are. Up top, we have 5. In the bottom, we have 5x. Notice that it's not 5 plus x or 5 minus x in the bottom. It's just 5x. It's like you're hanging out with your friends at a club or a bar or wherever you guys hang out. It doesn't mean that you're dating them, right? Which means that if the 5 wants to go out and act like he's single, he can. Your friend can go out and act like they're single because they're not with you. They're not added or subtracted. But doesn't mean that our answer is x because that x is in the denominator. Remember, mathematical Vegas. What happens in the denominator stays in the denominator. And 5 divided by 5 leaves us 1 in the numerator. So that whole problem we started with reduces to 1 over